there is a lot more than just the LPG crisis, right? It's the cost of construction, cost of cement, and cost of raw materials going up for the construction perspective. For example, solar panels became more expensive, right? Because the raw material wasn't coming in. So those are the factors that you just keep tweaking and working with and making sure that your budgets are aligned to the realities of life. One of the things that I think Radisson realized very early in this country is that the country, depending, even if it's a mid-scale product, you need to be F&B heavy, right? So unlike the West, where mid-scale products are room-only factories, in this part of the world, even in the mid-scale, F&B plays a fairly large component in it. Luxury will always be a few. The core will continue to be Radisson and Radisson Blue, which will be 90 to 95% of our portfolio. Of course, we have other products in the offering. We have a lifestyle brand called Red. We have Park Plaza, Park Inn and Suites, which is at the mid-scale segment, and so on and so forth. Will we have 100 luxury products in the country? Unlikely. Will we have 15, 20, 25 at the moment in the next 5 to 7 years? Yes. And that's where we're really focused on. And key markets, like I said, whether it is Jaipur, Udaipur, Navi Mumbai Airport, these are, or Mysore, key markets. The hospitality and tourism industry is the second largest employer in the country after agriculture, right? So the more rooms that you build, the more hotels that you build, the more employability comes through, right? We could potentially generate in the range of 100 million more jobs in the next 4 to 5 years in the country as an industry, right? And I think the government recognizes that, and today they treat hospitality and hotels more as an economic sector than a luxury sector. So I think the mindset is also changing.
Just as you say it, I think one of the pain points for the hotel industry has been talent, right? And a crunch. And then during COVID also, we saw a lot of employees or the talent move away to side industries. So how are you sort of dealing with it?
Talent flow out will always be there, and it's globally. It's not that it's a India story. That happens globally as well, right? On the talent front, what I truly believe, what we need to make sure that we are scaling at scale.
But can robots come to India anytime soon?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Maybe in a decade or so.
I think so.
He is one of the key voices shaping the hospitality industry's growth story in India. With more than 2 decades of experience and a portfolio of over 200 hotels in operation and development under his watch, Nikhil Sharma leads Radisson Hotel Group's South Asia business as Managing Director and COO. I'm Urvashi Mishra, and we're coming to you from the Radisson Blue Plaza Hotel in Delhi. In today's episode of Fortune India's In Conversation, I sit down with Nikhil to talk about India's booming hospitality sector despite a year of uncertainty, Radisson's expansion plans, the travel economy, and what lies ahead for one of the company's fastest growing hotel sector. Great to have you here with us today, Nikhil, and especially at a very interesting time for the travel and hospitality industry, because we have seen military conflicts, we have seen airline disruptions, and then the West Asia conflict. So what exactly is driving the momentum for India's hotel companies, and how are they growing?
Firstly, Urvashi, thank you for having us on In Conversations podcast. It's our pleasure to be here. Talking about the industry, every year you will see some disruption with the other. This industry is a resilient industry, and we are used to seeing bumps. Coming to India, you see the fundamentals being extremely strong, whether it's the GDP growing at 7.6, 7.7%, the road infrastructure, the port infrastructure, the rail infrastructure, right? All this leads to better tourism and hospitality. And of course, with FMCGs and automotive growing, you need more hotels, and that's where we are.
Okay. So what has been the resilient strategy for Radisson, and how have you been pushing back?
So we've been in the country for 28 years now. We are headquartered out of Belgium. We have about 143 operating hotels in the country in 89 unique locations. So for us, Delhi is one location, and we have about 25, 26 hotels within NCR itself, right? So we are expanding this year. Depending on licenses, we should finish by this year end, which is Q4, which is December for us. Anywhere between 157 to 160 operating hotels. We're talking about 17,500 keys operating within the country. We're at about 15,500 keys at the moment. The growth strategy has really been moving into tier 2, tier 3 markets, and I would say flag planters in markets which are new. And I can name a few, like when we entered Karjat, for example, or Saputara. These are markets where you did not have any hotel brand. Forget international, not even a domestic hotel brand. And we were the first flag planters there. And then you see tourism flowing there. So from a resilience perspective, I think the growth always has been and will continue to be in the Bharat story. Of course, Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Calcutta, Hyderabad are extremely important to us. But the growth and the resilience comes from the larger India story.
Okay. And during the conflict, what we also saw was a lot of supply chain disruptions, and then, commercial gas prices also went up. So how did you sort of balance that with your growth ambitions?
Well, like I said, disruptions are going to be part of it. And one thing that the pandemic taught us was to scale up or scale down very fast. And those protocols are still in place should we need to use them. Right, so that's an extremely important piece. On the LPG crisis that we're speaking about, in some cities we did see some amount of panic. There wasn't a shortage, but there was some amount of panic, and we very quickly moved to electric inductions in the cooking range, right? And that helped us, for example, in those locations. Sorry, what was the second part of the question?
Just how did you manage that and balance it with your growth ambitions simultaneously?
Well, with growth ambitions, there is a lot more than just the LPG crisis, right? It's the cost of construction, cost of cement, and cost of raw materials going up for the construction perspective. For example, solar panels became more expensive, right? Because the raw material wasn't coming in. So those are the factors that you just keep tweaking and working with and making sure that your budgets are aligned to the realities of life rather than what was really just put in there. And we have for example, at Radisson, we have a 5-year plan, and every quarter we tweak it and we see how we are doing to reach our eventual goals.
Okay. So being at the helm of such a big, business in India, what exactly should your mindset be as a leader? And, how did you manage that crisis personally?
I think all businesses today are agile and nimble. And if you're not, best of luck to you. And that's really the mindset that we have. We leverage technology a lot more than we did as not only us as a brand, but the industry today. From managing these issues, I think it's more about aligning the teams, communicating right in time, and making sure that the broader team, we've got about 18,000 team members in the country, making sure that they understand the significance and the realities of life. So they are all aligned and move in the company's vision.
Okay. So pivoting to Radisson strategy now, other international hotel players in India, for example, Marriott, it is the leader by hotel room count, and then IHG and Hilton, they are also expanding rapidly and aggressively in India. So what would you say is today Radisson's edge in the market?
So firstly, I think there is room to grow for everyone, right? Just from classified hotel rooms today, if we were to speak about, we are at 210, 215,000 rooms classified, 3, 4, 5, and the luxury segment. Just as an example, Dubai or Singapore have 150, 160,000 rooms, and these are cities that we're talking about. So the potential to grow in this country is phenomenal. My personal view is that in the next 3 to 4 years, we will hit 1 million operating rooms in this industry in the classified segment. That means that all of us grow. Right. Coming to Radisson, I truly believe our edge has been how, as a global company, we've been able to localize. And today, because of the strategy that we adopted in the past of being in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities, Radisson is a fairly well-known brand in the country. And we will not only capitalize on that with our loyalty program, but ensure that we continue our growth strategy in Bharat in more locations than where we are. So we will be in 114 locations by next year, and we want to take it to 200 locations in the next 4 years.
Okay. Along with this, other hotel operators, they are largely concentrated in metros, or they focused on luxury or upscale. Whereas Radisson's approach and how you dominated India through your presence was tier 2 and a tier 3 strategy. What exactly was your mindset there, and how is it still working out for you after being, decades in India?
So, like I said, firstly, we want to make sure that we are there wherever travelers are going to. So whether it's a spiritual destination, it's a hill destination, it's a beach destination, we want to be there to make sure we are catering, and we want to be there at all levels, whether it's mid-scale, upscale, upper upscale, or luxury. So we are actually late entrants into luxury in the country. We only have one luxury product, which is in Srinagar, which is the Radisson collection. But we are now opening more of those luxury products, one in Udaipur, which is 350 keys on a 100-acre site, one in Jaipur, one in Mysore, all 200 to 300 keys, and one in Navi Mumbai Airport. And that's something that I think is a game changer between Noida and Navi Mumbai Airport. Will be game changers for tourism in both those locations. So from a luxury perspective, that's where we are. And from a growth strategy, we want to be, like I said, mid-scale, upscale, upper upscale, depending on the ticket size of that city and the availability. But one of the things that I think Radisson realized very early in this country is that the country, depending, even if it's a mid-scale product, you need to be F&B heavy, right? So unlike the West, where mid-scale products are room-only factories, in this part of the world, even in the mid-scale, F&B plays a fairly large component in it.
So are you changing your positioning within India from where you started and now have a larger focus on luxury?
Well, I wouldn't say we're changing our positioning. I'm just saying that from a luxury perspective, we are late entrants in this part of the world. And luxury will always be a few. The core will continue to be Radisson and Radisson Blue, which will be 90 to 95% of our portfolio. Of course, we have other products in the offering. We have a lifestyle brand called Red. We have Park Plaza, Park Inn and Suites, which is at the mid-scale segment, and so on and so forth. So while we will have more luxury products in the country, we will continue to grow in the upscale and upper upscale. And that's always been our strength.
Okay. So since you yourself said, you're a late entrant in the luxury segment, what exactly is your strategy to sort of catch up with the other players that have entered through the luxury segment?
Well, like I said, late entrants, but we are focused on making sure we get the right products in that segment, and we are not in a hurry. And it will always be the cherry on the ice cream from a portfolio perspective. So will we have 100 luxury products in the country? Unlikely. Will we have 15, 20, 25 at the moment in the next 5 to 7 years? Yes. And that's where we're really focused on. And key markets, like I said, whether it is Jaipur, Udaipur, Navi Mumbai Airport, these are, or Mysore, key markets that we see. This hotel actually that we're sitting in 2 years will be rebranded as a collection once the whole renovation happens. So yeah, we'll be also upgrading some of the hotels that we have, and this one is the first one that we are in.
Okay. So conversely, Hilton and IHG, they are also expanding aggressively now in tier 2 and beyond. They are also seeing the opportunity for spiritual and pilgrimage destinations. So do you think that Radisson will be able to hold its dominance in these markets for the next maybe decade or so?
Like I said, there is enough and more demand. The industry, and let's just talk about the industry at the moment, right? The supply and the demand situation continues to be an inward pyramid. And what do I mean by that? I mean that the demand is so high that the supply catch up even with all other brands building at the pace that we are building in, right? And I said 1 million operating rooms by 2030. I truly believe that India will still have far more demand than what the supply is. In some micro markets, when you have multiple products, it is possible that there will be some amount of ADR stress. But if you were to look at it, and let's just look at Q1 numbers, right, from last year, The India average is sitting at about 64-65% occupancy. And we're touching an ADR of 10,000 rupees, which is 9% higher than last year Q1. So Q1 is Jan, Feb, March for us. So JFM is 9% higher than last year, right? Of course, last year in May, there was an unfortunate incident, but Q2 has trend, other than April, when we had elections, and typically when you have elections in the country, there is some amount of slowdown that you see in travel. But other than April, May and June have been phenomenal months, and we are seeing anywhere between 8 to 18% growth in key markets.
But like you said, the room supply is still limited in India, especially in the luxury and mid-scale, upper mid-scale segment. So how is the entire industry solving for it?
By building more rooms. No, the other piece, Urvashi, which is important and we don't speak about it too much, is that the hospitality and tourism industry is the second largest employer in the country after agriculture, right? So the more rooms that you build, the more hotels that you build, the more employability comes through, right? We could potentially generate in the range of 100 million more jobs in the next 4 to 5 years in the country as an industry, right? And I think the government recognizes that, and today they treat hospitality and hotels more as an economic sector than a luxury sector. So I think the mindset is also changing from that perspective. And you see some states also moving and pivoting towards that by giving hotels infrastructure status, giving SOPs on long-term loans and so on and so forth. So it is a collaborative effort. But yeah, I think the one big thing or benefit for us as a country is employability and skilling and making sure that we can employ the youth of the country. And it's an industry which is a lifestyle industry, and hoteliers today can move across industries, and you need them in hospitals, you need them in construction. You see more and more builders hiring, for example, and allied industries. So it's an industry which is a starting industry and then gives to the other industries. So that is an important base. Just on talent, if I was to speak a little bit more on that, can I actually continue on talent, or you want to?
Yes, no, you can. I mean, just as you say it, I think one of the pain points for the hotel industry has been talent, right? And a crunch. And then during COVID also, we saw a lot of employees or the talent move away to side industries. So how are you sort of dealing with it now? And you can expand on what you were going to say.
Okay, so firstly, this is an industry that is a starter industry. And what I mean by a starter industry, it teaches you life skills which you can use in any other industry, right? Whether it is sales, whether in FMCGs or insurance or medical or building companies and so on and so forth, right? So that, let me just say, talent flow out will always be there. And it's globally. It's not that it's a India story. That happens globally as well, right? On the talent front, what I truly believe, what we need to make sure that we are scaling at scale. So at Radisson, what we've done is we've partnered with Tourism Hospitality Skill Council and Job Plus, and we've scaled 850 kids across the country from Kashmir to Northeast, and making sure that the industry absorbs them. And out of those 850, the last count we have, 85% of them are still employed. So this is a 2-year-old initiative. So in the last 2 years, we've scaled 850. This year, we should scale another 200 odd kids. That is for the industry. And we're making sure that we participate in this and make employability easier for kids which could probably have thought of a different profession.
Okay. So considering the environment that we are in right now, what does skilling really mean? And especially in the age of AI, if you think about any young graduate that is willing or planning to enter in this industry, what advice would you have for that person? And exactly what does skilling really mean in this atmosphere?
Well, firstly, scaling at the base level, and let me differentiate that. When we talk about talent crunch, the country doesn't have a talent crunch at mid or senior level anymore today. The talent crunch is at the base level, right? And skilling helps solve that problem. And I think a lot of other organizations are now joining in to make sure that scaling happens. So from that perspective, I would definitely encourage young students to to skill themselves and upskill themselves and make sure that, they are relevant to where the industry is from that perspective.
What exactly, is the opportunity for them, and what does skilling mean in the age
What
of
is the
AI?
Yeah. Okay. Just pivoting towards AI, and I truly believe AI will create far better guest satisfaction. And how are we looking at AI? We're looking at it from the guest journey perspective, right from discovery of a hotel or a city or a location, depending on where they are, to making sure that they book the hotel, and of course from a loyalty perspective, making sure that the front desk ensures that the gratification happens more instantly. I'm just giving one example, right? And I see AI enabling the hospitality industry more. We are fortunate that we have labor dividend in this part of the world, but in the other part of the world, you will see more technology at play, and you will see it in this part of the world as well. I'll give you one example. Like Digi Yatra, once you have something equivalent to that for hotels. In business hotels, you will probably start seeing kiosks, and this is my personal view, in the next 2, 3, 4 years. You won't see them in leisure hotels so much, but in business hotels, an airport hotel, you will start seeing kiosks where a guest just comes in, collects his key, checks in himself, and goes to the room, and so on and so forth. You see it in some parts of the West, but I think that adoption will be far faster in this part of the world once the statutory arrangements are taken care of. But by and large, can AI do housekeeping? It can't do housekeeping. You still need a housekeeper to service those rooms. Yeah. And my personal belief is that guests still want to see that smiling server serving you a dish rather than a robot coming in serving it to you. It's great novelty, but in this part of the world, because of the labor arbitrage being so low, I don't see that piece happening. But I see better enablement in the whole guest experience journey through AI.
Do you see any robots serving anytime in the next decade outside India?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Outside India, yes. In fact, some of our hotels are using robots for orders that are coming from Swiggy and Zomato. So instead of they just put it on the robot and the robot goes to the room, for example, to deliver orders that guests have ordered from outside. As an example, it does save some amount of labor, or last mile requests if somebody wants a water bottle. So some hotels have already started using it. But like I said, it's more a novelty at the moment in this part of the world because labor arbitrage is extremely, extremely low compared to the rest of the world. Even with the inflation that we have of 4 to 5%, right? The salaries that today team members get are getting better and better, and that will make sure that team members join this industry.
But can robots come to India anytime soon?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Maybe in a decade or so.
I think so. I think you will see it more as, like I said, more as a novelty at the moment. And in some of our hotels, you have a robot just walking around with buttermilk and cold coffee and so on and so forth, and going to tables and so on and so forth. It just saves. It's a little more personalized to a degree, and you're making sure that it's being served on every table. If anyone wants, they just pick it up. But I truly believe that automation in hospitality will benefit us overall, and will help even in this country.
So do you see it eliminating workforce in any way, or do you see it sort of working side by side?
I see it enabling and working side by side. I don't see it eliminating workforce, at least for the next 4 to 5 years, in my personal view.
Okay. And now just coming to the travelers, since you are present across India, across segments within all tiers. So what is the conflux of travelers that you see? Is it largely, metro travelers moving to tier 2, tier 3, or is it a cross function, and, what are they seeking? Do their demands differ? Can we get some insights around that?
So firstly, it depends on the type of travel, right? So India continues to be a multi-generational travel segment. So what I mean by that, so hill stations in June, July, beach destinations or spiritual destinations, you see families with their parents and their kids traveling together, right? So unlike the West, we continue to be a multi-generational traveling within the country and outside the country. So that's one piece that continues to be there. What we have seen with our expansion in tier 2, tier 3 markets, as an example, is that the guests there are today technologically advanced. They are conscious. They watch the same OTT channels that you and I watch in large cities. And they want the same quality of food, for example, that they've had, or they've traveled abroad and they've had it, and they want that same in their city. So they are more experience-driven, if I can categorize it in a box, right? And they know the realities today, right? So in a Bareilly, for example, you could get away with Indian Chinese, but today some of them, if they want Szechuan food, they understand the difference between Indian Chinese and Szechuan, and they want more authentic experiences. So that is a big shift that we are seeing across the country.
So tier 2 branches or hotels, are they more profitable than the metro ones? Or, that's what I want to understand. Are travelers moving more there, or are they coming more to metro cities?
So I'll tell you one thing, just from a talent perspective, I'm going back to talent. We are seeing a lot more senior talent wanting to move to tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities because they come from those cities and those opportunities did not exist.
Okay.
Right? And they're happy going on, even it's not necessarily a great thing, but they're even happy taking a pay cut because they want to be closer to their family. In those locations, it could be a mid-scale brand and somebody's moving from an upscale brand, but he's happier being there with his family or her family and making sure that, there's better quality of life, if I can say that. From a guest perspective, the movement is similar. You're seeing a lot of leisure travel, if I can say. Even you see that with foreigners coming in, but you also see that with Indian travelers today. They want to experience, if they're there in Hyderabad, for example, they want to experience the biryani in Hyderabad authentically. They want to experience the Irani chai and so on and so forth. I'm just using Hyderabad as an example here, but you're seeing even Indians willing to experience more, even on a business trip, and in some cases even extended with families.
Okay, so where do you see India's growth coming from the next decade? Which segment, which tier, where exactly is it driving?
With 350 million middle class families and growing, India's growth is going to be across segments, right? More mid-scale, upscale, upper upscale, and luxury, and you will see Indians traveling depending on the purse strings that they have. I would say you would see more new destinations that are unheard of because of the road network being now connected, and Indians love to travel by road. And in the last few weeks, you've seen images of 7-kilometer stretches in Leh Ladakh and Shimla and something like that, right? But you will see with the government announcing those 50 new destinations, right? And the push on those 50 new destinations, there will be new locations where Indians will be traveling to. I'll give you an example. Mopa Airport, right? And in Goa, in north of Goa. And we are doing a 200-key hotel at the airport with GMR.
Okay.
But the whole south of Maharashtra, which is the Sindhu-Durg belt, has opened up. And you're seeing a slew of construction there. You're seeing a slew of hotels eventually coming there, right? So as infrastructure gets better in this country, you will see more and more tourism and more development in locations that one has not really experienced. And that's where Indians will actually go.
Okay. So have conversations changed with industry stakeholders, with different governments from, say, 10 years ago, and now they are more keen, more invested in development?
I think so. And I see some states that are extremely aggressive and they want hotel projects to come to those cities and certain locations. And they're very, very aggressive in giving incentives and making sure that the local talent and local skills are used in those locations. So 10 years ago, you would have to go to certain state tourism bodies and so on and so forth. Today, they are so active that they are coming to your office and they are pitching for you to invest in their states. So there's a big difference from that perspective.
They're seeing the opportunity now.
They are seeing it as an economic sector that will develop not only that location, that city, that state, but also benefit everyone eventually.
Okay. So another thing is, tier 2, very interestingly, you said you opened a hotel in a smaller town, and that's what sort of drove the traffic or the tourism to that city. So is that your perspective, or was it that you sort of saw an opportunity and you were ahead of the curve before any of the other players?
I think we were lucky, and God was kind, and that played a role as well. And we took that risk as a brand when other brands were not willing to take that risk, right? Whether it was a airport hotel at Amritsar, right, that we built, or like I took a locations, Karjat or Mahabalipuram, right? And I can go on and on the leisure piece. The bet that we took has paid off. The bet that we took as a brand in spiritual destinations, and we opened our hotel in Ayodhya as an example before the temple opened, right? So these are long-term bets that you take and think them through, and we've been fairly successful with most of them.
You know, how many times can you say that you got lucky? Because it has sort of been a pattern with Radisson that you opened up in markets where there were no hotels, no branded rooms, and then you've sort of driven the traffic there.
So one thing that I would like to speak about Radisson is our 5-year strategy and how we drive that 5-year strategy. So it is not a figment of imagination. Yes, luck does play a role, like I said, but we have very concrete steps, and we look at it every quarter and we tweak it every quarter to what our goals are and where do we want to be. So as an organization, we have said by 2030 we want to be 500 hotels in this country. We are 240 hotels at the moment as we speak, including what we have on the pipeline. And I truly believe it is achievable. And that growth is the growth of Bharat. Right, and we want to be in those locations where Bharat is growing, and that is extremely important. And we've pinpointed those locations. We have a plan to get there, and yeah, of course, there is a strategy on that.
Okay, so while we also spoke about how industry stakeholders and the government is now more keen, they are investing in infrastructure, and there's more aviation connectivity now. Do you think they're happening at the right pace, or are they enough for a country of this size and of this magnitude and as diverse as we are?
Well, you have to look at the baseline where we were 10 years ago, 12 years ago, right? So from that perspective, to have 70 more airports and another 80, 100 more airports coming up is phenomenal. Is it enough? No, it's never enough. Do we want more? Absolutely. But it's exactly that, right? We want better GOP, we want better occupancies, we want better ADRs. And from a country perspective, we want better infrastructure and faster growth. But like I said, the baseline and where we are is just phenomenal. And what you see in the next 4 to 5 years from the plans that the government of India has is going to be the golden period for hospitality.
The speed at which this is happening, the development is happening, is it sort of a hindrance to achieve your 500 hotels by 2030 target?
I don't think so. I think the 500 hotels is fairly achievable in India. And like I said, because the growth is the growth in Bharat, and we are in only 89 destinations. We're going to 114 by the end of this year or early next year, right? I think India has like 19,000 pin codes, right? So we'll just be a drop in the ocean even with 500 hotels in this country.
Okay. So you are a global company at the end of the day, right? And do you think that we are able to compete with global standards if we think about tech, if we think about talent and infrastructure? Are we there yet, or how long is it there for us to reach that sort of point?
As a global company, because we have same systems and same processes, it's easier. But as an industry, I think if you were to compare ourselves to Europe, and this is again my personal view, depending on hotels to hotels, we are at least half a decade to a decade behind where Europe is today in terms of adoption of technology, adoption of processes, and so on and so forth. But we are fast learners. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you would see foreign nationals as general managers in India in luxury hotels. Today, Indians are a big export of talent, and you see Indian general managers across the world today. So you see that pivot happening, and you see that pivot happening even from a tourism perspective, right? You see Indians traveling far more to what I would call Greater India, Dubai, Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, and so on and so forth. Because there's so many Indians in Dubai. Right?
Absolutely.
Come to think of it, right? So you will see more and more of this as the GDP grows, as the net income of Indians grow, and they all want to experience travel, and we are very emotional and as a community, as a country, right? And we want to experience more, and travel just gives you that.
So what are you most excited about when you think about the future of hospitality? If you just envision it, what comes to your mind?
What am I most excited about personally is the employability that this industry will be able to give, right? And I gave a number like 100 million, but the number could be far more than 100 million across the country. Okay. That, if you ask me, gives me strength and gives me optimism about India.
Okay. Just last one bit, it's about you and how you have, decades of experience. You've worked across Lemon Tree, then Wyndham, and now Radisson. So, and they're all operating very differently from each other in very different segments. So, what have your learnings been, and what have you sort of imbibed from there and brought on to Radisson?
Every organization has a different DNA.
Yeah.
One thing that I would say is we all need to be adaptable. And learn and relearn is extremely important. And I just want to be a better person from yesterday, today, right? And for that, I truly believe that it's important to keep learning and relearning and unlearning a few things. And I may have done some things in the past that I don't agree with myself today. And it's extremely important to just adapt and move forward.
Got it. So just on that note, on being more adaptable and unlearning and then relearning, we'll close this. And thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Great conversation.
Thank you once again.